Hi guys. Today we're going to talk about REST APIs. REST APIs, you've probably seen the name around. Whenever someone says, go build an app, you just got to go build your REST API, you got to build your Android and iOS app, and then you got to hook them all together. What is a REST API? Why do you care about it? Well, you care about it obviously because you want to use it to build an app, probably. Um, and what is it? Well, it stands for representational state transfer. And what this means is, unlike older methods of communicating with the server, um, which require less overhead on the network, by the way, um, you can you can connect your client to your server without having to care about what was going on in the conversation. So um, I'm going to talk about an older system um, known as lockstep. Um, lockstep is a way for it's a way for a client and a server to engage in a conversation. Um, so the client sets up a socket connection to the server. It sends some data, or the server sends some data. One of them sends data first, and then the other one. And typically, what will happen is the server will prompt, say, "Hey, I need a password," or "I need a username," and the client will say, "Okay, here's the username," and then the server will say, "Great, I got it. Send me the password." Then the client sends the password. Then the server says, "Great, you did it. Now we can communicate." Um, and then the server might, almost like, if you think of it kind of like dialing into one of those helplines, um, the server might actually just give the client a menu and basically say, well, send me a 1 to look at this information, send me a 2 to look at this information, and send me a 3 to look at this information. Um, that's kind of that's kind of annoying. You've got to write a lot of code. That's a lot of if statements, maybe switches, case statements on the server. The client's also got to keep track of where it is in the conversation. That's a lot of effort. So REST seeks to cut down on all of that effort. So instead of navigating through a hierarchy of menus, the client just sends typically a URL um, that says, "Hey, I want to look at this information." So here we have a few examples, um, and so I'm on anyapi.com, and they just have a list of a bunch of APIs. You can look at programmable web, anyapi.com, any one of these. And I found this one. It's version I. I haven't used the site myself, but it doesn't really matter. The idea is you can look up information using their REST API. So instead of getting a menu that says press 1 for sessions, 2 for services, 3 for products, and so on and so forth, um, you send it all the information that you're going to want. Um, Let me see. Users, organizations, get organizations. Okay. Okay, request not authorized. Okay, this isn't going to be a good one. Um, let's look at Jenkins. Jenkins, so here, here is Jenkins. If you guys aren't familiar with Jenkins, you probably should be at some point. We'll go into that later. But anyway, I just send it, and the URL that I sent it was /API/JSON, and then I can pass it a parameter. This question mark is a parameter in HTTP, and I can do pretty true, which sends me this neatly printed out thing, or I can do pretty false, and it should change. Yeah, there we go. So now it's sent it all as a blob. Pretty true. I want to look at it pretty because it's just nicer. And so it gives me a list of information here. Let me see. We're going to do /jobs/shuttle library alpha. So I'm going to copy this URL, and then I'm going to do /API/JSON, to give me the JSON. Pretty true. Now, as you can see, every time I've opened a new tab, I've started a completely new conversation with the server. And I didn't have to actually give it any information. I just said, hey, send me the status update. Um, what about this project? Show me some information about it. So I get a description, I get a display name, and then I get a name. I'm not sure what they show different things here, but this is just the way Jenkins does it. So that's what a REST API looks like. Interestingly enough, though, JSON isn't the only format you can use. So if you use XML, you get a printout that looks like this. It's the same information, but this time the format is XML. And if you're not familiar with the differences between XML or JSON or what they are, you should Google those. But it's important to note that REST APIs don't have any standard. There's no standard for they must exchange data in this format. It actually doesn't really matter. In fact, you don't even have to use REST with HTTP, which is web protocol. You could actually create an API that would technically be RESTful using a file system. So you can even think about the way that you access files on your computer as RESTful. You navigate to a directory, you open a file. You didn't engage in a conversation with your computer. You went to a directory, you clicked on a bunch of folders, and then you opened your file. And that's exactly what REST does. And indeed, there is a name for the operations that you typically are able to do with REST. And they call them CRUD. It's create, update, and delete. And I don't remember if the R stands for anything, but basically you can create a resource. You can on your computer you can say new file. You can delete a file. And you could open the file and change it. So that would be an update. So basically that's what REST is. Now, as to what does it typically look like? Because you don't care about a lot of this high-level concept stuff. What you care about is being able to actually use this knowledge right away. In order to use this knowledge right away, you need to keep in mind several things. One, REST is almost always JSON format. So if you're looking for a REST API to provide you with weather information, or you want to look at surf data, or you want to look at current stock prices, you can probably find an API that's RESTful, that uses REST, in other words, that is using JSON or XML. Probably JSON, but XML you'll find out there as well. Like Jenkins is a great example of this. So yeah, that's REST. And let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks very much.